Today, I'm super excited to actually talk to you about a new feature that we just released in dSIPRouter. It is actually something that we've been working on and thinking through for a long time. Many of you know that we have a ability to integrate with Fusion PBX. It's a very popular integration, and we're really proud of it. And we want to obviously enhance that integration. But we also heard from our FreePBX users as well, and they're like, "Hey, what about us?" So today we're announcing a auto sync feature that actually allows you to sync your inbound routes, aka DIDs, with dSIPRouter. So I want to walk through how this particular feature work, what the problem space is, and then just do a demo of it so you can actually see how it actually works in action and how to get started. So let's go ahead and get started and jump right into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is let's just share my screen and we will jump into it. So let's go. So the problem space that we're typically trying to solve for is situations where you start off a hosting company. This is primarily PBX hosting. This is what I'm talking about. You start off with a free PBX server, right? So maybe you have a client that came to you and said, "Hey, I would like a phone system," and you started deploying free PBX. And then out of that, you got another client that wanted a phone system. Since FreePBX isn't multi-tenant, you decide to spin up another box, right? So you have what I'm seeing here. What you're seeing here is multiple boxes, right? So I can connect them up, and now you get another customer and another customer, and another customer. Now it becomes a situation where you have all of these particular free PBX systems, and now you have to manage the trunking for those individually. So what we recommend is using dSIPRouter as the router that actually communicates with your carrier, and then all of your free PBX instances just need to communicate with dSIPRouter. So that's the only trunk, aka carrier, that is inside your free PBX system. Everything else is dSIPRouter handles for you. So all your carriers, all the translations that's needed if necessary, at least from routing to a particular carrier, that is the basic stuff, will all be inside the dSIPRouter. And so what that does, it is great, but it causes a problem. The problem is now I have to ensure that all of my DIDs, aka phone numbers, are in dSIPRouter, because now when calls come inbound from the carrier, right? So I'll just kind of show that. So calls coming inbound from the carrier, right? So these are calls coming from the carrier into dSIPRouter, right? Those are going to have a phone number, right? A phone number attached to it. Oops, I put the arrow the wrong way. The phone number coming in that hits dSIPRouter, it needs to know which one of these PBX systems that we routed to. And the only way that it does that is that you have to go in and manually put the actual DID inside of dSIPRouter. Now, inside dSIPRouter, you have two options. Number one, you can manually import each DID one by one, or you can actually import it as a CSV file into dSIPRouter. But in both of those situations, you have to do it. Nothing is going to automatically do that for you. So that is the problem that this new feature we have solves for you. So it will automatically take any DIDs that are created in your free PBX systems, and it will push it to your dSIPRouter system. Now, we're going to iterate on this and make it better and do all kind of things, but all of the DIDs will be added to here. I'm just going to say add DID. So, and that's really what this feature does. And this is and what this does for you is that now all I have to do is add these DIDs to FreePBX, and then it automatically gets added to dSIPRouter. So now I don't have to do the double adding and the whole situation of like potentially getting the DID wrong by maybe by mistyping it or something else goes wrong. So what we're really saying is that this dSIPRouter agent will sit on each one of these systems. Okay. And it will be responsible for automatically grabbing the DIDs from FreePBX and then pushing those DIDs into dSIPRouter using the dSIPRouter API. Again, you don't need to know anything about the API. Only thing that you're going to know is basically what server it needs to point to, which endpoint group that this particular FreePBX system belongs to, and really that's it. And it handles the rest for you. So it runs. You can have it run on a cron job. So maybe runs every 5 minutes or every minute, depending on what your tolerance level is. But it makes it super easy for managing these type of things. So now that I've talked to you about the problem space, let's jump into a demo of this. The first thing I want to do is walk you through the web interfaces that will be important for configuring the agent. So first, we have FreePBX, and you're seeing the inbound routes, aka DIDs, that are in the FreePBX system shown here. I'm going to go over and go through the dSIPRouter UI really quickly. I'm currently in the endpoint group section. This is where you define all of your media servers that's going to be routing through dSIPRouter, right? So in our case, that's going to be FreePBX. I'll come back to this in a second. But the other thing that you need to know is that you have a concept of carrier groups. This is how you route calls outbound. By default with dSIPRouter, there's a set of carriers that come with it out of the box, kind of defined, ready to go. All you need to do is basically go into that carrier and get credentials, either it's IP off or username, password off, and then you're up and ready to go. And then you have inbound routes, which is like, where you would see DIDs. This is where you would specify, add DIDs, import them in. But again, if you have, multiple FreePBX systems, that means you have to enter the DID into the FreePBX system, and you also have to add it into dSIPRouter. So keeping those things up to syncing, and it just, it's not hard, but it's one of those things. If you're managing multiple customers, it's just another thing for you to do. So hopefully you see value in having this agent running that will check for DIDs and add them to dSIPRouter. Okay. So, but the first thing we need to do inside of dSIPRouter is let's add this FreePBX server so that dSIPRouter knows about it. So dev FreePBX server, we'll add a row, FreePBX router.dSIPRouter.com, FreePBX. I'm going to save it and add it. All right, so it's there. One of the things that we have a concept that, very much like FreePBX, basically you have to reload in order for the changes to become active. All right, so now our FreePBX system is defined inside of dSIPRouter. The ID of that system is 15. And that way you'll be able to go in and actually specify the ID that's associated with the FreePBX system that should be routed whenever that DID is dialed. All right, so let's now switch over to the console, and let's get it going. Oh, one last thing is very important. Is that you need to actually grab the CLI. So the CLI is sitting at releases.dSIPRouter.org. Oops. And you click on Linux and AMD, and you can just right click and say copy link address. All right, so now we have that. So I'm now going to go over to my terminal. Right. And I'm going to do a wget, and I'm going to hit enter, and it should go and grab it. It doesn't like my certificate for some reason, even though it's a Let's Encrypt certificate. I don't know. So what we're going to do is use the no certificate check. All right, good. So that looks like you got it. So now we're going to do an unzip dSIPRouter CLI. Now if I just do a dSIPRouter CLI, there it is. It has 3 commands: lease, inbound mapping, and agent. We're going to use the agent command. Okay. So now we need to set a couple of environment variables. So one, we're going to do export dsip host. So in this case, it's going to be demo.dsiprouter.net. And then we're going to also use dsip token. And this is the demo system. So the token is actually inside of our docs under the demo system section. So this is no secret. And then from there, we can actually just do dSIPRouter CLI. We can, again, this is running on the FreePBX system. So it has access to the FreePBX database. So by default, it's using the default credentials that comes with every FreePBX system. So if I run this, I can just do dSIPRouter.cli. I can specify I want to use the agent part of it or the agent command. And if I type that, it'll tell me what my parameters are here. So it's dSIPRouter agent. The type is FreePBX system. And then you can specify the endpoint group ID, which, if you remember back, is was the 15 that we actually had for that particular media server. And then frequency. So this is something that's not implemented just yet, but frequency is going to be where this process will be able to run as a service, and it will just check the database of that FreePBX server at a certain interval or a certain frequency, and then it's going to automatically update dSIPRouter. But that feature isn't there yet, something that we're planning. And quite honestly, we're looking for feedback to see if that would be valuable, because the other way, in the way we run it today, we can put it in cron tab. So just give us some feedback if you feel a certain way, one way or the other. So now we're about to run this. If you remember, we had 2 DIDs that was in our FreePBX system. So we're going to run this. And what you see here is that there is, I have a test number as well, but you can see that here goes 3 numbers that's going to be added to our system. So if I go back over and share my screen again, and if I go to inbound routes, we're going to see 3 numbers here. So that's what you would do and how you would set it up if you wanted to have your FreePBX system synchronized with your dSIPRouter system. Now there's, this is the first release of this. So we're going to be doing enhancements. We're going to be fixing certain bugs. As you can see here, the name came over in the ASCII character version of this, right? So we're going to fix that and make sure that all the characters show up properly. But there's going to be new releases of this quite often. You will be able to go to, again, releases.dsiprouter.org and pick up the latest release. We'll start adding version numbers and things of that nature as well. But I wanted to at least release this now so you can start working with it, giving us some feedback on it, and all those things. There's also, just to make sure you understand this, if you change the default passwords of your MySQL database, there are some environment variables that actually allows you to specify the MySQL host name, the actual username, password, and I think, and the name of the actual database as well. So that was a quick overview of the new integration we have with FreePBX. So go check it out. If you need to test it really quickly, one of the best things to do is to go grab the actual CLI and then use our demo system to do testing. So our demo API key is all in our docs. It's called, if you just search for dSIPRouter, read the docs, and you'll be able to find the section that has our demo credentials in there. So you can use that to do all the testing, or you can go get a subscription to dSIPRouter. It'll give you 7 days free. So you can actually give it a try before you commit to actually getting a subscription, because the API for dSIPRouter, you do need a subscription, but give it a try, give us feedback, let us know how we can improve. All right. So thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you soon.